Hello, my name is Braden Malden, and this is my presentation on success tips for beginning educators. Starting off, I'd just like to recap my field experiences that I did. The first field experience was with the focus of instruction, and I observed two middle school PE teachers. And the first thing that I observed was just how big of a factor that classroom management played into the value of the instruction. The way that they manage the classroom, they use clear communication, they use structured routines, they utilize positive reinforcement, and they also had adaptive lesson planning to cater to diverse students. Um, they both showed high praise for the students. They, had good demonstrations of all angles, and the transitions were really engaging, and there wasn't a lot of standing around um, with their instruction. My second report was interviewing a head football coach at a high school, and that report was focused around motivation. I thought it was very fitting to interview a football coach when talking about motivation, because that is a big part of the sport. Um, One thing I noticed about him is that he used a lot of verbal encouragement. He also had clear goals for the kids during practice and during certain drills. And he also was always, and not just him, but all coaches were providing constant and constructive feedback to the kids. It really kept them engaging and had the kids really feel like they were learning. And to me, when they feel like they're learning, they're going to be really motivated to try to keep doing better. Um, I noticed that using all these techniques really helped build the kids' self-efficacy. It had also created a sense of progress and trust for the coaches. I noticed that the kids really bought in and believed in what the coaches were telling them and really cared about performing well and trying to do what the coaches are asking them to do. Um, which brings me into my first tip that I would have for beginning educators, which would be prioritize building relationships and trust. To me, I put this at number one for a reason. I believe this is the most important aspect that you can have in your classroom or your gym when you're teaching. It's just for the students to know that you care and for you to have a personalized relationship with each student. It's super important for kids to understand that you care and that they have a trustful relationship with you for them to truly want to perform for you or want to behave in your classroom or want to soak in everything you're teaching them. They must trust you and they must have a relationship built with you. Um, this was really obvious when I observed the coach of the football team. He really highlighted the importance of establishing a strong connection with each player. His motivational success stemmed from the trust that he built with his players, really reinforcing their sense of relatedness, which is a key aspect of the self-determination theory. Okay, his trust in them and his relationship with them and him showing gratitude for them really built up their self-confidence. Um, you know, the self-determination theory shows relatedness as an essential piece for motivation. When students feel connected to their instructor, they're more likely to engage and push themselves. When they trust you and when they feel a connection with you, they are more inclined to really push themselves and try to be successful for you. Um, I would advise beginning educators to prioritize getting to know their students as individuals and not just players or not just students, as people. Get to know what they're interested in. Simple actions like learning their names quickly, offering personalized feedback, and being approachable can significantly impact classroom dynamics. The second tip that I would give to beginning educators is to implement clear goal setting and feedback. Um, I believe that having clear goals for students to achieve really helps with motivation and really helps with instruction. Um, when they can see a finish line or they can see a stopping point or they can see somewhere to reach to, then they will be more inclined to work harder and try to achieve that goal. Again, this was very prevalent and very obvious when I observed the head football coach. It's easy for football players and any sort of athlete to get caught up in the lull of practice all the time. It's really easy for them to just get out there and go through the motions. So by Coach X setting clear goals and giving them something to strive for every single day really kept them motivated and engaged in practice, which also helped build up their self-efficacy. This ties in majorly to self-efficacy theory, which emphasizes the importance of believing in one's abilities. Clear goals paired with constructive feedback help students recognize their progress, and it helps build competence. I would really advise educators to establish short-term obtainable goals, and I would advise them to establish long-term goals. And to me, those short-term goals should help build up to that long-term goal or long-term goals. The third aspect that I would advise would be to adapt instruction to students' needs. I really saw this with the two middle school PE teachers. They did a really, 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 really good job tailoring their lessons based on student responses. They showed flexibility based on what their students thought about lessons. They had a thing where they allowed students to provide feedback for each lesson, and they took those into consideration when planning out future lessons. This plays into constructivist theory, which posits that learning is most effective when students construct their understanding through experiences. It just gives students a hands-on feel and allows them to feel like they really made their impact on a lesson and they had their say into the lesson. And it's going to help motivate them because they feel like it's theirs. I would advise teachers to adapt their teaching style by incorporating student feedback and being responsive to their needs. Not every student learns the same. Not every student feels the same about every single subject. So by taking in student feedback when planning out lessons, that allows you to kind of tailor that lesson and make it and keep it engaging for each student. The fourth point that I made would be to, just create a culture of positive reinforcement. No kid wants to come into a classroom that is super negative. That is really the quickest way to lose it, in my opinion, to lose a classroom is for them to just feel like it's a negative environment. I felt like the PE teachers that I interviewed and that I observed did a really good job keeping the gym positive. And the most important aspect of that was just like positive reinforcement. A lot of teachers give out candy and stuff like that. That is a good form of positive reinforcement. B.F. Skinner says that rewarding behaviors is a way to get those behaviors to happen again. So if you provide a behavior with a positive reinforcement, then that'll allow that student to keep repeating that behavior. That'll also show that other students need to act like that, and they'll be rewarded positively. I would advise teachers to implement some sort of positive reinforcement in their teaching somehow. I would use positive reinforcement to recognize good behavior, and hopefully other students will follow and see that that's how you're supposed to act in a classroom. Also, just small comments to students, such as, "I appreciate how hard you were working on this today." That will make a big difference, and maybe it'll change a student's day. So to me, like, my core message for beginning educators would be to blend theory with practice, focus on relationship building, structured goal setting, adaptability, and positive reinforcement. These create an environment where all students feel empowered to succeed regardless of their background or their learning needs. At the end of the day, we're teaching kids. Okay, we're not teaching robots. So I think it's really important to invest in the person that's sitting in those seats in your classroom and not just look at them as robots. So my field experiences have shown me that effective teaching requires more than just knowledge. It really demands empathy, adaptability, and an awareness of students' needs. As I develop my PE curriculum, I will integrate clear, incremental goals, prioritize building trust, and adapt my lessons based on student feedback, based on what my students think about my lessons. This will ensure that every student, whether they are striving readers, gifted athletes, or bilingual learners, it will ensure that they can engage meaningfully and succeed in my class. Just some encouragement for some new educators. I would urge beginning educators to take these tips to heart and implement them in your teaching. Building relationships, setting clear goals, adapting to your students' needs, and reinforcing positive behaviors are not just strategies. They are the foundation of creating a learning environment where students thrive. If you embrace these practices, you will not only survive your first years of teaching, but will also inspire and uplift your students.